of it wasn't as close as the final score would indicate. However, at halftime in the third quarter, the 49ers had plenty of chances to keep this one closer. But the simple truth is that Kansas City, as long as they maintain the advantage at the line of scrimmage, I think they have on both lines of scrimmage against the 49ers, as long as that remains present for the Kansas City Chiefs, the 49ers are going to have a really, really tough time beating them. Kansas City owned the front today. I think there was one play in particular that really encapsulated what happened in this 49ers defeat. It was late in the first half. 49ers had just completed a deep pass to George Kittle. It was 14-3 at the time. Purdy to Kittle down the sideline. Nice catch. 49ers get into the red zone. It is 3rd and 1. Time is running out in the first half. They had a couple choices. They could have just gone for the end zone on that 3rd and 1, or they could have tried to pick up the first down on the ground. But the problem was that without the timeout, that was a risk, and they might have no shots at the end zone if they get stuffed. Lo and behold, the 49ers got stuffed on that 3rd down. Absolutely stonewalled. Jordan Mason today had 14 carries for 58 yards, but 26 of those yards came on one rush. So he was 13 for 32 on the rest of his carries. That's simply not going to get the job done, especially considering the game plan that the 49ers had. They came out running the football on the first 3 plays. They were clearly trying to establish the run so they could set up the pass, diffuse some of Steve Spagnuolo's pressure. But when your back goes 13 for 32 and you can't pick up 1 yard when all you need is 1 yard, it's been a recurring theme, I think, for the 49ers over this season. You're just not going to beat Kansas City. Listen, Patrick Mahomes did not light them up through the air today. He went 16 of 27 for 154 yards. He had the play of the game, I think, where he broke the tackle from Fred Warner. That's going to be bugging Fred for a while. But it wasn't like Patrick Mahomes put on an aerial exhibition like he did when the Chiefs beat the 49ers here in 2022. This was San Francisco's offense simply not able to punch the ball in, not able to get a yard when they needed to get a yard. And I get it, there's extenuating factors here. Brandon Ayuk hurt his knee. We're going to see the severity of the injury when I head to Kyle Shanahan's press conference in the locker room here in a few minutes. Deebo Samuel had the flu, so he basically couldn't play in this football game. Juwan Jennings was already out with a hip injury. Christian McCaffrey already out, obviously, with the Achilles injury. So you're down your 4 of your best eligibles, right? George Kittle was the 49ers' top eligible. You don't want to throw Ricky Pearsall into the mix the way they had to today. They wanted him to be an auxiliary weapon to start. Instead, he had to be the feature guy. Ronnie Bell was in on a huge catch. Not a huge catch, on a huge catch by the Chiefs on an interception. They were down to the bottom of the receiving room. So obviously the 49ers were really hamstrung in that regard. But the fact that they couldn't run, on top of the fact that they were losing, that they were missing all those eligibles, completely scuttled the offense. On top of that, so if you're ever going to beat Kansas City, then you're going to want to have close to a full cupboard. But say that you are dealing with what the 49ers dealt with today. To have a chance against Kansas City, you can't screw up special teams, and you can't screw up the basics. Brock Purdy screwed up one of the basics on the very first pass of the game. It was the second drive, rolls out to his right, play action from Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, the call wasn't a good one because Steve Spagnuolo was ready for the play action. Nobody was open, but Purdy still tried to force the ball into George Kittle. That was interception number 1. It actually nullified the 49ers' punt defense. They were ready for the Kansas City fake punt on the play before, but it gave the ball right back to the Chiefs. Then there was the second interception. This was a chance for the 49ers when they were down by 2 points, 14-12. This was a chance in Kansas City territory to at least have a field goal attempt to take the lead. And this is one I'll get more details on when I go into the 49ers locker room. But Purdy, under some pressure, buying a little bit of time, threw toward the sideline, and it looked like Ronnie Bell just stopped running the route. Now, you expect some of these problems when when you don't have your top guys in there. When the normal connection between Purdy and all his receivers, the chemistry that you want, the timing, the knowledge of who's going to go where, especially if a play breaks down a little bit up front. You do expect things to go off the rails. But for them to go off the rails the way that they did on that play, for Ronnie Bell to just cut inside and that ball to float freely to the defensive back over the top so he could tiptoe in bounds at that spot, I mean, that was a huge, huge gut punch to the 49ers. By the time that they were down 9 points and driving after the Jacob Cowing catch, and they got into the red zone, by that time, it's desperation moment for the 49ers. And the separation that they're having to work with offensively had been essentially non-existent all game. Once they got into the red zone, everything was going to have to go perfectly, and it obviously didn't. That was the George Karlaftis hit on the Brock Purdy throw. Karlaftis with a spin move essentially beat Colton McKivitz clean. Nobody was open for Purdy on third down. He might have been trying to throw the ball away. We'll have to ask, but he got hit. The arm got hit as he threw, and the pass was intercepted at the very end of the game. So Kansas City didn't play a clean game. The 49ers played an even dirtier one, though. You had the 3 interceptions. We went through all of them right now. You had the fact that they couldn't deliver on punt coverage in the first half. That set up the first Kansas City touchdown. And obviously the missed extra point. I think the missed extra point from Anders Carlson that clanged off of the upright did take some wind out of the 49ers' sails after they scored a touchdown that should have closed this to a 14-13 game. Instead, it was just 14-12. Things got ugly at the end. Trent Williams was ejected for throwing a punch. I mentioned the Fred Warner missed tackle. That obviously a massive play in this game. But to me, I look at this in the big picture. I think every single bad 49ers defensive play in this game came on the heels of a more inexcusable failure offensively. So Fred missed the tackle on Patrick Mahomes right after Ronnie Bell allegedly ran the wrong route or broke off the route too early on the Purdy second interception. We'll get those details. I just tend to err on the side of Brock Purdy threw that ball into the correct place and Ronnie Bell cut the route short. That's a failure of complementary football, right? That's the 49ers offense not holding up their end of the bargain to at least give a shot to their kicker to give them a lead, and then the defense on the other end on a hot day. I mean, we saw it against Arizona, not being able to hold up going in the other direction. So when you're not firing on all cylinders offensively, or you're not even close to cohesively delivering offensively, it's eventually going to negatively impact your defense. And I think we saw that for the 49ers today. They did a lot of good stuff. We saw Bosa with some pressure early on. We saw the Deommodore Lenoir interception, I think after Xavier Worthy fell down there at the start of the second. I saw Kalia Davis with one of the plays of the year. It's a former stack linebacker. I think he was putting that mobility and some of that athleticism to display when he deflected the interception to himself. But all those plays go wasted if it's not a team effort, if the offense isn't delivering the way that the offense should deliver. And the offense was never going to be at full strength in this game. We knew that entering the game. There was going to be no Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers found out a little bit later that Deebo Samuel was sick before this game. He probably was a big part of the game plan, so that scuttled things even more. But then it was going to be up to your $30 million man, Brandon Ayuk, to catch a perfectly thrown pass. You go back to the first half, perfectly thrown third down pass from Brock Purdy to Brandon Ayuk, and Ayuk just dropped it. Shortly thereafter, Ayuk made a really tough catch, the type of catch the 49ers needed to potentially win this football game, but he got hurt on the play. And we'll have that Ayuk update for you here in just a few minutes. See what Kyle Shanahan says in his post-game press conferences. So at the critical junctures, and this has become a theme when the 49ers played the Chiefs especially, Kansas City made the plays, Mahomes broke the Fred Warner tackle, and the 49ers simply didn't. When they needed a yard, they couldn't get it. When they needed a catch from Brock Purdy on third down, they could have fired them up and gotten the offense into rhythm before everybody, or essentially everybody was hurt. Ayuk dropped that pass. When they needed some good pass protection from Colton McKivitz, they did not get it in the red zone, and Karlaftis hit Purdy, and the pass, the last gasp there, was intercepted. Again, outside of the 26-yard run, Jordan Mason only 13 carries for 32 yards. I go back to the theme that started this. The 49ers, I wrote an article about it this week. I said that they hope that they've closed the gap between them and the Chiefs as far as the line of scrimmage is concerned, but it didn't appear that they had fully closed it based on how Kansas City had been performing, and I think that assessment ended up correct. There's a reason I picked the Chiefs to win this game, because they had earned the benefit of the doubt, especially against the 49ers. They continue earning the benefit of the doubt by clutching up at key moments. And the 49ers, especially against Kansas City, no matter how many big games the 49ers have won in the Shanahan era, they haven't been able to get it done against their tormentors, the Chiefs. And the same continued today. They are now 0-5 under Kyle Shanahan against Kansas City. And every time the 49ers play the Chiefs, I'm going to have to pick the Chiefs because the 49ers are going to need to kick the door down and prove otherwise. Next things are more important, though, for San Francisco. They are, 3-4 now. Still a lot of season left to be played, but a lot of guys hurt now. They need to start getting some of those skill position players back. We'll see how they're able to heal in time for this next game against the Dallas Cowboys. Kansas City was coming off of a full bye. Looked like it today at the line of scrimmage. 49ers are going to be people playing a lot of teams coming off their bye moving forward, so they need to freshen up as much as possible and somehow, some way, get into the bye week at 4-4. That will be the key for the 49ers. It's another chapter of the longer novel. This one showed how far of a way they still have to go, but there still is a long way to go in this 2024 season. All right, I'm off to the locker room. Kansas City, still better than the 49ers. We'll talk to everybody soon.